Cost of Inheritance, is about the long fight and struggle for reparations in this country. The first story that we look at is in Savannah, Georgia, and it's the story of a descendant of an enslaver who is working with a descendant of who their family enslaved on various reparations efforts in the community in Savannah, including helping the descendant of the enslaved Randy Quarterman secure land that his family was given, but never had title to.
For me and my family, we know this as heirs' property. Land that's passed down through family generations that has no will to say this person owns the land. It should have been Zeke's house. This probably was the house structure that they lived at. But the land is not in our possession. In court appointed, a lawyer became the executor of our property. See, it's like old bricks from back then. And then Sarah was like, hey, I really want to get you some help to try to clear this title.
I thought, this is so obviously a case of reparations because of America's first attempt at reparations right in that area.
We also are following what's happening with the Jesuits in Georgetown and how they, in the last few years, came out publicly around their slave-owning past and selling a number of slaves that they owned in Maryland to a plantation in Louisiana.
Welcome to our GU 272 Ancestral Pilgrimage Tour. Our ancestors were actually out this far. So you see the cane fields, right?
We are fifth-generation grandsons of Isaac Hawkins, the first name on the manifest of the sale of 1838. None of us, as has been said, knew anything of that. And since that time, I have been focused on, now what do you do about it?
The Georgetown sale was one of thousands that forcefully migrated more than 1 million men, women, and children from Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C.
And then the last story that we are following is of a white woman who discovered slavery in her family, literally by, going through her family's, boxes when her mom died, and discovered that her family has a history of enslavement. And she is working with a young woman, Brianna, and they started an organization to do various reparations efforts, including helping white people and encouraging white people to find their connection, to do the genealogy work.
There was a reparations meeting and I said, I want to start this portal and it's going to make white reparationists get together and do all this blah, blah, blah. And she just said, you have all these high and mighty ideas, great scholarships, all this stuff. What do you have for me?
My proposal was paying off student loans is also arguably a way of reparations, and she was one of the people that came up after and was like, I hadn't thought about that way. I would love to, her first note was, I'd love to put $1,000 on your student loans. And it has just literally escalated from there.
I've looked at my own family history and I've documented 3 different governors that were likely involved in creating the laws of slavery. When I found out that Brianna had studied political science, that whole area, I thought, well, that matches the harm that I need to unwind. For white people, one of the most important things to know is this is not a gift. I am repaying a debt.
Those are the 3 stories that we follow, while also looking at the history of the fight for reparations and the national efforts that are going on around this issue.
And so you're standing in a sacred ground. This is a slaveholding bin, we believe.
I knew that we had to tell it through real people, but we had to tell the story through the emotion of people who were grappling. I mean, that's the only word I can think of, are grappling with the history and the different ways that they are doing that. And of course, we're seeing every day different municipalities, states, universities dealing with it, coming out about their own history of enslavement. So it's really, as one of the persons says in our film, it's a tipping point that we're at. And we wanted to, really investigate and tell the story of what people are doing in this tipping point. My last bunch of films have been history films, and I keep being drawn to that because, again, the history is not known, or it's been misinformation around it. So that being able to uncover that and to make that palpable to people and compelling to people, and see how people respond to it is really, one of the things that motivates me. Even though not every film brings me hope or is very hopeful, some are, and in fact, this film is. And when our team discovered the work that was going on around reparations, I actually said, I was like, this can be a hopeful film. This can actually give hope. And I love that. I love those kind of stories.